the torches to burn bright. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night as a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Oh, beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. So shows a snowy dove trooping with crows, as yonder lady o'er her fellow shows. Did my heart love till now? Forswear its sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night.
Happy Valentine's Day to one and all. You've tuned in to the one and only movie program on the Central Coast on Public Radio KCBX. It's Take Two. And across the aisle from me tonight, the one, the only, who also goes by the nickname of Romeo, it's Bob Whiteford.
And across the aisle from me, in black tie and tails, looking as suave as Cary Grant, the one, the only, the czar of film on the Central Coast. Of course, I'm talking about my good friend and yours, gentleman Jim Dee. Jimmy, it's good to be back here. We've got another show on tap tonight.
It's a love fest tonight, folks. We're going to be talking about today, which I don't know if you really call it a holiday. I guess Valentine's Day is a holiday, but you know, movies and Valentine's Day go hand in hand. Get your significant other, either get a great movie. We've got lots of suggestions for you later on in the program. Of course, we'll open up the phone lines and you are going to give us a lot more suggestions, and even perhaps a film that perhaps you did see on a Valentine's Day or on a great date. Of course, we know of Bob's great experience of Zontar, The Thing from Venus, and his date with the babysitter. If you don't know about that one, that's a legend on the show. But we'll get into that later on the second half of the show. But we've got some really great classics. We've got some gems that you may not be always thinking about on Valentine's Day. So we've got a lot of fun to do tonight on this Valentine's Day show. And before we commence, funds for Take Two are provided in part by 24 Days in a Lifetime, a screenplay in search of a producer, coming sooner or later to a theater near you. More at 24daysinalifetime.com. Well, Bob, we started with Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet. That was, what, 1968 or so?
I think so.
With the beautiful Olivia Hussey, and in that scene that we opened up with, the first time Romeo sets eyes on her, and he is in love.
And I believe that's Leonard Whiting playing Romeo. And, you know, Jim, for my money, probably still the best version of Romeo and Juliet.
I agree.
It's the classic love story of star-crossed lovers. Maybe another great version of this would have been West Side Story, on which that was based. Leonardo DiCaprio did a version a few years ago that was an updated version. Oddly enough, they kept the dialogue, but everything else was contemporary. That was actually kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I would say this is the one that stands the test of time. And may I say, no Juliet ever looked lovelier than Olivia Hussey.
Yeah, Franco Zeffirelli, I think, just did it right, did great respect to Shakespeare. It's visually beautiful, and it's... But, we might as well say it. When Bob and I were talking about this show tonight, we were coming up with Valentine's Day movies, or, there's only probably 9,000 movies with love at the core, maybe 9 million movies where you can have a love story within it. But the films that Bob and I gravitated towards, to put it very easily, don't have a happy ending, or they didn't live happily ever after. In case in point, the ultimate classic, Romeo and Juliet. But, Bob, you were saying because they don't live happily ever after. That's only in fairy tales, and the ones that are more lasting, more poignant, more taking standing the test of time, the ones that don't quite work out are the ones that seem to have the legs, so to speak. They're for the ages.
Well, Jim, what's interesting is the films we're talking about tonight. This is various stages of when love is new, and we're all big kids. We've all been through it. Those first 6 months or so, or first weeks and first days when you meet someone and fall madly in love. We all know what a heady experience that is. That's probably one of the most intense experiences we're ever going to have as human beings. And these films deal with that. Plus, they also, because basically the love ends there, either through violence or something. It never goes to the later levels, kind of like American Beauty, where they're trying to rekindle that first love. And so much, what's happened? People have kids, people got to go to work, people got to pay bills. Oh, my aching back, not tonight, I got a headache, that kind of stuff. And that's, these relationships don't even get to that point. They're just in the white hot phase. And it doesn't even have anything to do with maybe them getting their hands on each other sexually, though in some cases that would be true, but wanting and desiring are definitely a part of this. And Romeo and Juliet, the Zeffirelli version, when Leonard Whiting's Romeo first lays eyes on Olivia Hussey, him and I think all of us in the movie audience were quite taken. I saw that as a young boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I finally discovered I had hormones.
Well, both Bob and I highly recommend the 1968 version of Romeo and Juliet. And as Bob mentioned, there's other versions. A good rental for today for you and your significant other. But we're going to move back in time to perhaps one of the quintessential movies that would be a good, this movie plays good any day of the year, but I would say especially on Valentine's Day, with the very powerful love story at the core, but there's so much more going on in this film. Hank, go ahead and play cut number 2.
Boss? Boss?
Yeah?
Boss, ain't you going to bed?
Not right now.
Ain't you planning on going to bed in the near future?
No.
You ever going to bed?
No.
Well, I ain't sleepy either.
Good, then have a drink.
No, not me,
I
boss.
don't have a drink.
Boss, let's get out of here.
No, sir. I'm waiting for a lady.
Please, boss, let's go. Ain't nothing but trouble for you here.
Coming back? I know she's coming back.
We'll take the car and drive all night. We'll get drunk. We'll go fishing and stay away until she's
Shut
gone.
up and go home, will you?
No, sir. I'm staying right here.
I grab Bugatti, then she walks in. Well, that's the way it goes. One in, one out. Sam,
Yes, boss.
it's December 1941 in Casablanca. What time is it in New York?
What? My watch stopped.
I bet they're asleep in New York. I bet they're asleep all over America. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. What's that you're playing?
Oh, just a little something of my own.
Oh, stop it. You know what I want to hear.
No, don't.
You played it for her, you play it for me.
Well, I don't think I can remember.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
Yes, boss.
Bob, as time goes by, pivotal piece of music from Casablanca, and one of the greatest movies of all time, a great Valentine's Day movie. And by golly, it follows along our idea that it doesn't quite turn out the way you think it's going to turn out.
Just think about this, Jim. We were talking about this earlier. What if she stayed with Bogart. I mean, he wasn't going to leave, or she left with Bogart. The film would not have the majesty or the staying power that it's had now 62 years later.
Yes.
It's only great because, well, it's great for many reasons, but the ending is wonderful in that he sends her with her husband, and he's going to be doing a little more drinking by himself, though maybe he'll be hanging out with Claude Rains.
Captain Renault.
Great characters. I mean, we talk about this film all the time, and I think if we could just tonight, just to emphasize the romance, I mean, this is a great romance. The chemistry between Bogart and Ingrid Bergman is incredible.
Yes.
The heat is definitely there.
And when we're talking about love on this Valentine's Day, there is a love that's happening at the end of this film, but it isn't turning out the way you thought with Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, but there's a bigger love. There's a bigger emotional context here, and that's what makes it such a classic. And the attention to detail in this film. Again, when if you have an experience, whether it's a movie that you and your significant other saw, where you in the future you always refer to that movie, you have great remembrances. In this film, when you hear as time goes by, you almost kind of get that feeling that Bogart and Bergman had together when they were, in Paris and living footloose and fancy-free. And, yeah.
Well, that's part of the beauty of the film, Jim. Rick and Ilsa had their moment.
Yes.
And they consummated their moment in Paris just as it was falling to the Nazis. The backdrop of the times they lived in seemed to add to their passion. I mean, you can think about a lot of films in this context. 1943 also saw For Whom the Bell Tolls, and that was Ingrid Bergman and Gary Cooper, and there was a great love story between them in that film as well, but the backdrop is the Spanish Civil War, and it's also adventure and intrigue and beautiful technicolor. And I also think of a film called Yanks, done by, I think, our friend John Schlesinger.
That's right.
Richard Gere, Lisa Eichhorn, William Devane, Vanessa Redgrave, about American GIs in England during World War II. I have a soft spot for that because my dad met my mom there and married her. He was an American GI, and my mother was an English war bride. And there's something about that bigger love, or the bigger picture, that fuels love. I often used to kid and say, there was a lot more going on in London in 1943-44 than there was in San Francisco during the Summer of Love, because I think war made quite an aphrodisiac.
Yes.
The old line, "Baby, I'm shipping out tomorrow. I don't know if I'm coming back." I mean, how many guys use that line?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm getting a little off kilter here. Bogart doesn't use that line. Bogart, he was cut off at the knees when he was madly in love with Ingrid Bergman, and he never knew why.
Yeah.
And it led him to Casablanca, him and Dooley Wilson, and it made him kind of a bitter man. Mm-hmm. And then he meets her again.
Yeah.
And he's still bitter.
Let's wrap up the show and go watch Casablanca.
I think that's a great idea, Jim.
Anyway, that's one of our prime picks. Of course, we can include Casablanca on most any show as one of the most watchable movies, and especially, I would say, on Valentine's Day.
Well, let's think about Woody Allen's Play It Again, Sam, or should I say Herb Ross's Play It Again, Sam,
yes,
with Woody Allen.
The greatest double feature ever. Watch, folks, if you got some time, and of course you want to spend more time with your significant other, get Casablanca, and if you can watch Play It Again, Sam, right after it, it's one of the best double features you'll ever see.
And you're right. It's a great double feature to watch the submarine races too.
Well, let's move on because the next film may not be as familiar to you as perhaps Casablanca or Romeo and Juliet, but I almost want to emphasize on the show that I want you to seek out a film called Brief Encounter with Celia Johnson and a young Trevor Howard. This is directed by David Lean, who you may think of as a director of epics like Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, whereas Brief Encounter from 1946, I believe it is an intimate, it's almost like a play. It was adapted by Noel Coward, and what is so amazing about this film is that this is it's essentially an illicit relationship. It never really takes off, but it's the story of two married people who meet. They're two strangers and they meet. And what is so perfect about this film is very slowly, and it is so subtle. These two people, through meeting each other over a 4-week period, fall in love. And I don't think, Bob, I've ever seen another film that does it so. The nuances and just where you see these two people growing in love with each other, and it's all in conversation and just talking about themselves and talking about their married life, and it is absolutely incredible. I was watching part of it today, Bob, and I just remembered I love this film. Today I was just enjoying it, just amazed by Brief Encounter.
Jimmy, this film just blew me away. I finally got to see it not too long ago. My wife and I watched it, and it'd been unavailable for many years. And I guess the good people at Criterion got on the stick and got a beautifully remastered version of the film. It's a wonderful movie. This is one of the first great films of post-war British cinema. David Lean would go on to do Great Expectations, which was a great film as well. And let's not forget his epic love story, Dr. Zhivago, from 1965, with Omar Sharif and the lovely Julie Christie. Wonderful. But like you said, Jim, to hearken back to this often forgotten gem of a movie, it's intimate.
Very
Everything
intimate.
is intimate. Everything is small, and yet it means so much. And this is from the man that was the master of the sweeping epic. Brief Encounter from 1946. Jim and I could not recommend this film higher enough. This is a great film. Folks, you gotta check it out.
We have a clip from Brief Encounter. This is Trevor Howard and Celia Johnson, and this is actually probably about 3/4 into the film because you've gotten to know both of them through their conversations and having tea and going to the movies together, and very slowly, extremely slowly, but very surely, they fall in love. This is from Brief Encounter.
You know what's happened, don't you?
Yes. Yes, I do.
I've fallen in love with you.
Yes, I know.
Tell me honestly. Please tell me honestly if what I believe is true.
What do you believe?
That it's the same with you. That you've fallen in love too.
Sounds so silly.
Why?
I know you so little.
It is true, though, isn't it?
Yes, it's true.
Laura.
No, please. We must be sensible. Please help me to be sensible. We mustn't behave like this. We must forget that we've said what we've said.
Not yet. Not quite yet.
But we must, don't you see?
Listen. It's too late now to be as sensible as all that. It's too late to forget what we've said. And anyway, whether we'd said it or not couldn't have mattered. We know. We've both of us known for a long time.
How can you say that? I've only known you for 4 weeks. We only talked for the first time last Thursday week.
Last Thursday week. Has it been a long time for you since then? Answer me truly.
Yes.
How often did you decide that you were never going to see me again?
Several times a day.
So did I. I love you.
And in Brief Encounter, Trevor Howard, that was the first time that he said, "I love you." And, you know, as that clip was playing, Bob and I were saying, actually Bob was saying that there's nothing illicit in this film. There's nothing that's tawdry in any way. It's very natural and intelligent. And, but having said that, it's also powerful. And how can I put it? Contained heat. You know, I mean, there's a lot of heat going on here, even though it's two people conversing in a cafe or watching a movie together. And I got to hand it to Noel Coward, the writer. He was such a great writer and also a great
genius.
He was a genius, great songwriter. But here he looks at the nuances of a how can I put it? Love and how love builds, or how, you know, going from platonic friendship to love. And this film just maps it out so beautifully and naturally.
They have such an easy way with them. Again, yes, it's so natural that, and they oddly enough, in a strange kind of way, they still seem respectful of their spouses.
Oh, yes.
And this makes it for a real interesting film. It's not like anything I think I've ever seen. I might add, I think this was the last collaboration between David Lean and Noel Coward. They had worked together on In Which They Serve, a film about the Royal Navy. I think came out a year or two before. But I'm pretty sure this was the end of their collaboration, which In Which We Serve was a great film. It's not a love film, though.
You know, and just one other thing about A Brief Encounter is Trevor Howard, very young. And I always think of Trevor Howard, Bob, as, you know, a military guy, or he played Captain Bligh with Marlon Brando in the remake of Mutiny on the Bounty. So he always seems like, you know, a man who's in command, or he's, you know, in this film, he plays a wonderful leading man. He's a doctor, and actually he's kind of a progressive doctor. They have a discussion in Brief Encounter about preventive medicine. And, you know, the concept, as he describes it in Brief Encounter, is kind of revolutionary, not curing diseases, but preventing diseases. So he's kind of this progressive guy. But Trevor Howard is a leading man. He's dynamic in this. And, you know, he did play great military figures in later films.
Absolutely.
But he is dynamic in Brief Encounter.
You know, a light just went on in my head, Jim, because I'm wondering if this is, in fact, his only leading role. I'll bet you anything it's his only romantic leading role, and he's great in this.
He is superb. Well, both Bob and I highly recommend David Lean's Brief Encounter. Seek it out at your video store. It is a great film, especially on Valentine's Day. And adding, it doesn't turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. Let's move ahead to another fantastic couple on the screen, and I'm talking about Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn in the wonderful film Roman Holiday, which is a great film for Valentine's Day.
Well, you know, Jim, back in the early to mid-'50s, it's pretty much Audrey Hepburn and fill in the blanks. Gregory Peck in Roman Holiday, Humphrey Bogart and Bill Holden in Sabrina, Gary Cooper in Love in the Afternoon. In the 60s, of course, it's Peter O'Toole. My goodness, it's, you know, Breakfast at Tiffany's, George Peppard. You kind of go, huh? Who? What? Compared to all these other big stars. But she was so beautiful, and she had such an easy way and a wonderful way about her. The camera loved her. Mm-hmm. And William Wyler, a master filmmaker, used the natural settings of Rome. What's interesting about Roman Holiday is, I think we may have discussed this on a previous show, it's shot somewhat in the Italian neo-realist style of post-war cinema.
Yes.
Where they just go out in the street and start filming. And they use a lot of regular people as supporting players. It's not the big-budget kind of romantic comedy you'd be used to, where you see they're surrounded by all these great character actors. They're pretty much surrounded. There's, I think, a couple of actors. Unfortunately, I can't remember who they are right now, but for the most part, it's just regular people. And she plays a princess who's slumming it. And
well put.
And Gregory Peck is a reporter who's on the trail of the princess, but he doesn't really know what she looks like until he gets an idea. And their chemistry is terrific.
It really is. The chemistry is great, even when they're just sort of chatting. In fact, in the clip that we have, this is just sort of innocent interplay, even though they're both sort of deceiving each other. Gregory Peck, who wants the news story on the princess, who is, I love the way you put it, Bob, slumming it, amongst the common people. And Audrey Hepburn is deceiving Gregory Peck by trying to conceal who she really is, even though he does know who she is. And you can hear that in this clip from Roman Holiday.
What'll the people at school say when they see your new haircut?
They'll have a fit. What would they say if they knew I'd spend the night in your room?
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't tell your folks and I won't tell mine.
It's a pact.
Now, what would you like to drink?
Champagne, please.
Camerieri,
Comandi, signore.
champagne?
Sì, sì.
Champagne per la signorina and cold coffee for me.
Va bene, signore.
Must be quite a life you have in that school. Champagne for lunch.
Only on special occasions.
For instance,
The last time was my father's anniversary.
wedding?
No, it was the 40th anniversary of the day he got his job.
40 years on the job. What do you know about that? What does he do?
Well, mostly you might call it public relations.
Oh, well, that's hard work.
Yes, I wouldn't care for it.
Does he?
I've heard him complain about it.
Why doesn't he quit?
Oh, people in that line of work almost never do quit. Unless it's actually unhealthy for them to continue.
Well, here's to his health, then.
You know, that's what everybody says.
Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn from the wonderful Roman Holiday, the job that her father holds, I guess, is king, right? So that's
something like that.
Something like that. And maybe you didn't get it on that clip, but even though there's some very innocent chatting going on here and some kind of minor deceptions, the chemistry is there between Gregory Peck and Audrey Hepburn. And once again, folks, Roman Holiday for a film that does not end the way you expect it to.
And I would say any Audrey Hepburn film might be a good pick for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. She was so lovely, so wonderful, and it's so sad she ain't around anymore.
I agree with you, Bob. Well, we are going to take our usual concession stand break, and we're going to come back and just briefly go to a dark side of love, and then we're going to open up the phone lines. You're listening to the movie program on Public Radio, KCBX, San Luis Obispo, KSBX, Santa Barbara. Back in a moment. Take-Two is sponsored by Smart Systems, expertise focused on the design, sales, and installation of custom music and video systems. Advanced technology for residential and commercial customers since 1984. More at kcbx.org. Also, funds for Take-Two have been provided in part by Morin Brothers Automotive, starring Frida, the dog of many alter egos who is always glad to sniff your tires. Morin Brothers Automotive at morinbros.com.
Darling, I know there must have been other men in your life. After all, a woman as beautiful as you are. But please, don't tell me about them. Don't you know, darling, the great fundamental difference between a man and a woman in love? He always wants to be her first love. So, lie to him if you must. She, instead, ever more practical, is perfectly satisfied to be his last. Now, don't mind me if sometimes I ask myself the sad question, where was I? I waited long for you. My love was strong for you. I sang love's song. Do you recall? One night you learned to care. It wasn't my affair. I wasn't even there at all. Oh, where was I? The night that you surrendered to a sigh. Where was I? The moon was high. The night that you first listened to a lie. Where was I always felt that you would melt in someone's arms some night, and I was right. The moment came, but what a shame that someone else came by. Where was I?
Hank is beside himself. He's crying. I may have to go in and console him. It's the part where our gigolo friend says, "Lie to him." That's what broke Hank's heart.
Lie to him.
I know. It's devastated me too. These great Latin lovers. How did they get away with this? Who was that? Was that Ricardo Montalban? Was that Fernando Lamas? Who was he?
We don't know, but we just wanted to be as romantic as hell as we could be tonight. By the way, before that, it was great music from Ennio Morricone from the very romantic film Cinema Paradiso, another highly recommended film. On our Valentine's Day edition of Take-Two, the movie program, we're going to hit one more movie, which has kind of a detour, but this is a great film for any day of the year, but has kind of a twisted Valentine sentiment to it. And we're talking about Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo.
And what a twisted Valentine it is. What I love about Hitchcock, amongst many things, is how he, along with the great Western director Anthony Mann, really was able to bring out the dark side in Jimmy Stewart. And Jimmy Stewart, everyman, kind of a warm and always a positive presence in film. But Hitchcock really had a way of tapping into that dark side, especially after World War II. And this film might be their masterpiece together, because he finds a way to get Stewart into a very obsessive and not a very healthy love for Kim Novak.
And what Vertigo really gets into is the vertigo of Jimmy Stewart, where he goes past love and into a very obsessive persona with Kim Novak. So this is a clip from Vertigo, and you can feel the tension produced by too much love turning into an obsession from Jimmy Stewart. This is from Vertigo.
Thanks again. Good night.
Can I see you tomorrow?
Tomorrow night? Well...
No, I mean tomorrow morning.
But I have to go to work. I've got a job.
Don't go to your job.
And what'll I live on? My oil wells in Texas?
Let me take care of you, Judy.
Thanks very much, but no thanks.
No, Judy, you don't understand.
Oh, I understand, all right. I've been understanding since I was 17. And the next step is?
No.
No? And what?
We could just see a lot of each other.
Why? Does that remind you of her? It's not very complimentary. And nothing else?
No.
It's not very complimentary either.
I just want to be with you as much as I can, Judy.
It's Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak from Vertigo. Truly Jimmy Stewart falling in love, but falling deeply beyond love into obsession, which really propels this movie. And I just always thought it was just the genius of the scriptwriter and Hitchcock to, the gist of the film is Jimmy Stewart's vertigo, where he's afraid of heights and he gets dizzy with heights, but he also gets pretty dizzy with his obsession with Kim Novak.
Yeah, and who better to lose it to than Kim Novak? I mean, my goodness, she was so beautiful. I mean, that same year, 1958, she had Frank Sinatra going gaga over her and pal Joey. What a great actress, a great presence, and a great object of romance.
It's our Valentine's Day program on the movie program Take Two, and the phone number here, 549-8855, 1-800-549-8855. Bob and I cherry picking tonight with some of our favorite films with a romantic theme. There's only, countless numbers of films with a romantic theme, or perhaps a romantic experience you had at the movies, and we'd like to hear from you. 549-8855, 1-800-549-8855. Give us your name and where you're calling from. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
This is Jim, calling from Santa Barbara.
Hey, Jim.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, I'm just a sucker for romantic films.
Good.
One, you're talking about Ingrid Bergman and Audrey Hepburn. One film I always watch when it comes on was Indiscreet with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman.
Great film.
Yeah, so sort of a fluffy piece, but it was fun. It's always...
And let's face it, Cary Grant, any one of his films would be great for Valentine's Day. I mean, he was so classy. My wife is so into him right now. We just watched Indiscreet recently.
Oh, cool.
He is, dare I say it, I think he gets better every time I see him.
Oh, definitely. And another one with Audrey Hepburn was, a lot of people didn't like this film so much, but it came out in like 80 or something. They All Laughed.
Oh, yes, Peter Bogdanovich's film. And her romance with Ben Gazzara.
Yeah, and had John Ritter and Dorothy Stratton.
Right, and Dorothy Stratton, I believe, was killed by her estranged husband.
After that film, yeah. But that was I haven't seen that in years, but I worked at a movie theater that had it, and I never got tired of it.
Ah.
I like that a lot, too.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. Thanks for bringing that one up.
And also, Love Actually. I saw that 4 times when it came out.
Yeah, that came out, about a year and a half ago or so, and a big cast. And
especially the little kid who was in love.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard great reports. I missed that one. But a big cast.
It's so much fun.
Great. Thank you, Jim.
All right.
Thanks for the call. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Is that me?
That's you.
That's you.
Okay, Charlie from Lompoc.
Hey, Charlie.
Okay, here's a light comedy set at the end of World War II. I Was a Male War Bride.
Great film.
Yeah, what's interesting is it's kind of I believe you have a stuffy British officer and an American officer that fought like cats and dogs, disliked each other. As the war was at the end of the war winding down, they wound up. He was having to go back, or she was having to go back to America. They fell in love and figured they would never see each other again unless they got married.
Right.
So
actually, he was French.
Pardon?
The officer was French, and
French,
he was played
okay.
by Cary Grant.
Cary Grant,
the American.
right, okay. But anyway, so he's having to travel with all these giddy young women as a war bride, and just imagine the comedic situation that sets up.
Absolutely, it's Howard Hawks, one of the masters of comedy.
Yeah. Anyway, and again another love affair going bad was a Showboat. I believe Jerome Kern made it into a movie. Love affair that it ended tragically or ended unhappily.
Yeah.
Yeah, and almost any musical. In fact, I'm glad you brought up West Side Story, Bob, because that's a great one for retelling of Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. So I Was a Male War Bride and Showboat.
And how about for a love affair or a romance to turn out well, Hello, Dolly.
Yeah.
Yep. Good choices, Charlie. Thank you.
Anyway, keep up the great work there.
Thanks for the call, Charlie.
You bet.
All right. Hi, you're on Take Two.
Hello, Bob. It's 999.
Hello, 999. Give us your Valentine Day or maybe your favorite date movie.
Well, I would say I have several, but, musicals, I would say, are really good for that.
I agree.
Just listening to that. But I agree with you on the Romeo and Juliet remake.
Mm-hmm.
There was something there that didn't quite have it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end there, she shot herself, and that wasn't believable.
Yeah, in the 68 version, she uses poison, as opposed to a Glock 9. I don't know. It was a bit more discreet, and I found it more powerful.
I agree.
Thank you, 999. So do you have that one great romantic movie?
I would say not particular, and I think the choices that you guys made tonight were just pretty dead on.
Oh,
well, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I look forward to your next show.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, 999.
Bye.
All right.
Always a pleasure to hear from 999.
999. Good evening. You're on Take Two. Hi.
Hi, this is 10-10-10.
That fast on the draw.
No, this is Terry in Arroyo Grande.
Hi, Terry.
Hi, guys. Not particularly romantic, but it's got a love thing going through it, and it's fun and funny, and it ends up great, and it's with not Audrey Hepburn, but Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant, and Jimmy Stewart.
Philadelphia
Story.
Yep.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies. Just a lot of fun.
Oh, perfect Valentine's Day movie, I think. And I love the chemistry between the three of those.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And, if you're not having a good time with your Valentine, you can always refer to the scene where he comes up and takes, Cary Grant puts his hand on, Katharine Hepburn's face and just wham.
That's a great film.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, that one's pretty much a slam dunk, great romantic film. And,
Yes.
And you got the three of them at the top of their game.
Yeah.
What a great movie.
Yeah,
Thank you for bringing that up.
It's just a lot of fun. It's really a good movie.
And it's timeless. I mean, I think
It
that
is.
came out in 1940. It's 65 years old, and you
And
can
it
watch
works.
it. Yeah.
It works really well. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for the
Thank
call.
you.
See you later. Bye.
Good pick.
Good pick. Good evening. You're on take two. Hi.
Hi, guys. It's Linda from Santa Maria.
Hi, Linda.
How are you?
We're doing okay.
Great
How are
show
you?
tonight. Too much going on, unfortunately. But nobody's mentioned An Affair to Remember.
Oh my! Well, you just have, Linda. That's what we were hoping for.
We rely on you.
Oh, my God. Every time I watch that movie, and I've seen it 20 times, I collapse in torrents of tears.
Now that's Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr.
Yeah.
Correct.
And she's crippled at the end, and he sees the picture, and it's just, oh, my God. It's a woman's picture, I guess.
Well, you want to get a movie where you're crying at the end, because if you're with your significant other, let's call it, and
You can just blow snot all over him.
Well, could you imagine a romantic movie ending where, like, the husband's drinking beer and asleep in front of a television, and the wife's like doing dishes, being mad? It's like, that's what I mean by the happy ever after bit. It don't happen that way.
But one pairing you guys haven't mentioned that is one of my favorites, Tracy and Hepburn.
Oh. Yes, absolutely.
Well, as I said, we were cherry picking, and then we only touched upon 5 or 6 films, and there's so many
Adam's
more.
Rib would be a great choice, because you not only get Tracy and Hepburn at their best, you get a Ruth Gordon and Garson Kanin script, and you get a very young Judy Holliday and Tom Ewell too, of 7-Year Itch fame. That's a great romantic. Well, what isn't?
What about The Computer?
Oh, okay. Gosh, what's that called? Oh boy, the love set, desk set. That's it.
Desk set.
Yeah, that was from
You get
57.
a young Gig Young in that one.
That's right, as a
Yeah.
bonus. Yeah, I forgot about old Gig being in that.
Ah, okay. One final thing. I know you were rapsing so over Olivia in Romeo and Juliet, but I've got to say Leonard Whiting was hot too.
Oh,
You're
okay.
absolutely well. You're right.
They were both beautiful people.
They were
Yes,
beautiful.
I was like 15 years old, and I thought he was it.
Yeah.
My sister did. When I went to see the film, I think she was maybe 16 and I was 10, or 17 and I was 11. I'm pining for Olivia. Old Leonard was doing quite well with my sister too.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Great
Linda.
show again.
Thanks for
you,
the
Linda.
call.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good evening. You're on take two.
Hi, this is Molly in San Luis Obispo.
Hi, Molly.
How are you doing tonight?
Very
We're
good.
having a great time.
Me too, thanks to you guys.
You may want to turn down your radio, and you'll get rid of that echo.
How's that?
That's
Perfect.
great.
There you are.
Fantastic. I wanted to pay some thanks to Tim Burton for 2 fantastic date movies in my lifetime.
And they are
I had a first date seeing Edward Scissorhands.
excellent.
I loved Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder. It's kind of morbid, but I just loved it, and I'll
No.
never forget it.
And here's another film where that love between the two of them was very powerful, but has such a. It doesn't end the way you think it is, but here is Winona Ryder, telling the story to her daughter, and there's a real powerful love story in this film, but it doesn't turn out the way he's still up there creating the snow with his scissor hands and everything. It's a wonderful
Breaking
film.
our hearts every minute.
Yes.
Ripping my guts out, yes, but
Yes.
a great date movie nonetheless. And more recently, I wanted to mention Big Fish. I thought there was a great underlying romantic theme in that one. I loved that one.
Yeah, I wasn't real crazy about Big Fish, but I thought it was a good father-son film where, I love Albert Finney anyway, too. So, yeah, Tim Burton. And I agree with you about Edward Scissorhands, definitely.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me call in, guys. Have a good night.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Molly. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Good evening. You're on Take Two. Hi.
Hi, this is Lori from Paso Robles.
Hi, Lori.
How are you?
Very good.
Good. I have to add 3. Well, actually, I have to second Love Actually. 'Cause it was really good. And then I always come back to Father Goose.
Oh, yeah, Cary Grant
And Leslie Caron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fabulous.
And Trevor Howard was in that.
That's right.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
And all those bratty girls.
Oh, and then,
Of course, they were hiding his liquor for him, too, you know. So.
my sister went to school with the 2 twins in that movie, and
Oh,
they were
really?
bratty in school, too.
That's Oh, go ahead,
I was
please.
just going to say my only other addition would be, and this goes way, way back, would be the original Pride and Prejudice. With Greer Garson.
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous. Wonderful.
Gosh, we
love story.
forgot about what a wonderful romantic star Greer Garson was.
Yes, he was. And you wanted to slap the 2 of them all through the movie because they couldn't get it together. But, man, it was a wonderful picture.
Gosh, what was that? It was from, like, the 30s, maybe?
I would have to say 30s or maybe early 40s.
Yeah.
And remember the fussy mother who kept trying to get involved and got in the way? And I'm trying to think who played the male lead, and I want to say it was, I don't think it was Laurence Olivier, but I could be wrong.
Could it have been Walter Pidgeon?
I don't think so.
No, not in that one, though they
No.
teamed them quite a bit. You know, it's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember. It's been years since I've seen that.
It's worth seeing again.
Well, I'm going to have to now,
There you
thanks
go.
to you.
Yes.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night. We got the best listeners.
What a great Valentine.
Good evening. You're on Take Two. Hello.
Hi, this is Bill from Slow.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
You guys, I can only think European films. I can only think foreign films when you're talking romance.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is A Man and a Woman.
Yes. Yes, big thumbs up there, Bill.
Yeah, a great movie, catchy tune to it, and
Anuka Me.
that's right.
She's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, that's the film that made her in America. She was a bigger star here than she was in Europe for a while.
Interesting.
Real phenomenon.
Any other foreign titles that come to mind that...
Another one, yeah, Il Postino.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Pablo Neruda informing the postman how to write poetry, and oh, yeah.
Oh, and then, you know, The Object of Desire in that film. I can't watch that movie without my wife throwing her elbow into my side a couple of times.
Oh, yeah, the woman he finally marries.
Woo.
Beautiful.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's I don't know, do the Europeans do romance better than us Yanks?
In some cases, I mean, that's why I pulled out the Cinema Paradiso music for our 7 o'clock break, because that is a very romantic film, I believe.
It is. Great show, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for the
Bill.
call.
I know.
I think romance is kind of
It's a worldwide
it's
thing.
international.
Yeah. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Hello, I'm Joanne in Los Osos.
Hi, Joanne.
And I'll vote for Casablanca, which is sort of an excuse for me to pay a Valentine tribute to its screenwriter, Howard Koch. You talk about Casablanca a lot, but you don't mention Howard Koch. And I believe he won an Academy Award for that film. And he's kind of distantly related, but that's why I know more about him. But he was blacklisted in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just very sad still about that, because he also wrote the radio script for War of the Worlds.
Wow.
He may have written the script I think he wrote the script for Treasure of Sierra Madre, but I'm not sure. And after the 50s, he could never write again under his own name. He wrote a movie called The Intimate Stranger in 1956, but he used a pseudonym of Peter Howard. So those were just really hard times for those people who just disappeared and were quite brilliant. And so I just want to tell them we love them.
Well, yeah, we owe it all to the writers.
Thank you for bringing that up. There's a cinematic Valentine for us and everybody. Because as I recall, Howard W. Koch, he went back and worked on that screenplay every day. Every day they were changing it. Every day something was different, and he did a terrific job on that. And What a tragedy.
Yeah, I just went to the internet to see what I could pull up and saw that he was saying that Ingrid Bergman was still kind of green in that movie. I mean, she was sort of new to American cinema in that movie, and she just had a terrible time with the fact that they didn't have an ending, and they kept bringing in a whole lot of other writers to try to write an ending. And then he talked about how this was the perfect ending. Of course, no one will forget the ending.
A film for the ages. And Howard Koch, the screenwriter, gets credit tonight on Take Two. Thanks to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. We have time for only one more call. Good evening. You're on Take Two.
Hi, this is Frank from San Luis.
Hey, Frank.
And when you were talking about Brief Encounter, it reminded me of another old movie that I saw maybe 30 years ago called The Wild River with Montgomery Clift and I believe Lee Remick.
Oh, wow. You know, we've heard about this film. I've never seen it. What can you tell us about it?
Well, Montgomery Clift is an agent of the Tennessee Valley Authority, and his job is to go into the valley and get people to move out of their homes and property before the flood comes from the dam.
Right.
And he's a man of intelligence, sensitivity, and integrity. And Lee Remick is a resident of the valley, so you can imagine the tension and the the unexpectedness of romance in that situation. But it's just remarkable acting. It's worth finding. And I was hoping you could tell me where I could find this movie because I'd like to see it again.
I wish I could. I've been looking to find this film for at least the last 5 years just to see myself. It's one of those that's just kind of fallen through the cracks. I don't even think it gets shown on television like Turner Classics or AMC, which is a tragedy because I love Montgomery Clift. He's one of my favorite actors, and Lee Remick, she's wonderful too.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Give anything to see this.
I think this was my first exposure to Montgomery Clift, and I suddenly understood what the hubbub was all about.
Wow.
It's great.
So it's called The Wild River?
The Wild River.
Okay, we got to keep our eyes open for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for the call.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good show.
Well, Bob, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, Jim, and to all our listeners out there. Thank you so much.
Thanks to Hank, our projectionist, and we hope you have a romantic day. We'll be back again next week with more of the movie program, Take Two.
Rosa morena, oh